All right, we are live per usual. Bullheaded Podcast. I am your host Sean Tyson here with Zoo and Peebush. How you guys doing?
Doing all right, man. Another painful Bears loss this past Sunday. I know we had to touch on it, but I'm just hoping and praying that my Xfinity doesn't let me down today. So that's really all I'm focused on for this podcast. If you tuned in last week, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Man, the Bears, Xfinity, man, they're just taking L's all day, man.
Just Chicago. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, not the Bulls. Not the Bulls.
Last night.
The Bulls are separated from the Chicago Bears,
Sure.
man. Come
Sure.
on, man. One guy's
That's
trending up, the other team's trending down, man. The exact opposite direction.
Oh, yeah, but tough Sunday, but it was good on a fantasy front, so I can't complain there.
Fair.
Oh, yeah, man. It was a beautiful week in fantasy, man. Thank you for trading me Joe Mixon, Pat. He has
You're
been
welcome.
an absolute monster. Another top 5 finish. Another 2-tutty game, 24 fantasy points. Shout out to my team for dropping 149 fantasy points. That's big time, baby. That's big time. That's all I can ask for. Shout out to Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers, even though we're going to talk about it. That Vikings, the Packers game, man, that was a hell of a performance by
That
both
was
teams,
a hell of
man.
a game.
Best game of the week, by far. Best game of the week.
Yep.
Kirk Cousins, man, he's starting to show. He's starting to get. He might be one of those teams that could lift the Vikings into the playoffs. Still a long way to go, but Kirk Cousins has definitely been solid for the Vikings this year. So we're going to transition into that. You know, like I said, this people said it earlier in pre-production. It really was kind of a weird slate with football this weekend. You know, I think the marquee game everybody was kind of penciling before this Sunday or this past Sunday was the Chiefs and Cowboys, and that kind of fell on a dud just in terms of an offensive performance. So I wanted to ask the guys, you know, what were the takeaways from Week 11? You know, things like, you know, some good things, some bad things they saw. And Peebush, I'm gonna start with you, man.
There's a couple teams. I mean, I think everybody's obvious choice would probably be the Jonathan Taylor-led Colts. I think that was a huge win for them. You know, I think they kind of struggled just, you know, with close games. And they faced a team that a lot of people, you know, especially going into the season, thought was formidable in Buffalo. And we just saw them absolutely abuse Josh Allen, abuse that running game. I think they only gave the running back 6 carries. I talk about it damn near every week at this point. They kind of just neglect their running backs. And I think that it just puts a lot of pressure on Jalen. But I thought that performance by the Colts, man, they have one of the best O-lines in the league, and Taylor is an absolute beneficiary of that. 5 touchdowns, man, that's ridiculous. I mean, he almost matched Kamara on Christmas Day last year, which would have been even crazier for fantasy purposes. But I do like where the Colts are trending, and I think we'll kind of get into that a bit later. But you're looking at kind of the AFC South picture and the Titans, you know, catching that L, and in Houston to Tyrod Taylor just rushing the ball every single time.
Weird, man.
And you know, they're now just 2 games back in the AFC South. So that's kind of one that I was intrigued about, as well as the Chargers. I think they had a lot of issues pulling out close games and pressure. And even though they allowed that comeback with some janky plays by the Steelers that kept them in that game Sunday night, I like that Herbert was able to persevere, because we'd seen him kind of struggle with that in the past 4 or 5 weeks in those close games. So I think that was a big step for them and a big win. So those were definitely the 2 games besides the Packers-Vikings, which I'll let you dive into there. But those were the other 2 that I was pretty surprised about this week.
Yeah, man. But, man, that Vikings-Packers game, that game was a treat to watch, man.
Mm-hmm.
Both offenses are elite. Both offenses got fantasy weapons for days. And shout out to Kirk Cousins. But, man, he got so lucky with that last pass to that Savage dude, man. When he threw that and Savage caught that, I was like, oh, Aaron Rodgers going to get the ball back, score, get a field goal, game over. Typical Kirk Cousins coming in unclutched like usual in a big-time game. But, dang, wasn't able to pull it down, got a field goal for the win, man. But, my God, that game was phenomenal to watch, man. And we got to shout out Justin Jefferson, man. This dude is unbelievable, man. This dude gets open way too easily. Like, way too. Every time he goes down, man, gets open, man. I never see this guy drop, man. Him and Kirk Cousins having a great connection. Like, Adam Thielen used to be Kirk's, like, go-to guy. But you got this dude called Justin Jeff, who's a freaking monster, who has, like, no weaknesses as a wide receiver. You got to feed this guy the ball. And every time this guy gets the balls, man, swear to God, he gets like 100 yards and a touchdown like every game. It's ridiculous. Like his productivity as a second-year wide receiver, man, Jesus Christ, man. This guy is an unbelievable talent. And obviously, like Dalvin Cook, still a monster, man. You just got to stay healthy. And that Green Bay offense, man. But it's just beautiful to watch, because I think both these teams, like the Vikings, they came in some they could have got some wins this year, but they just had some bad luck at the end, man. Not being able to close some games out, like losing on a field goal last possession games. And they've been a solid team that's been in most games so far. And they say being the Aaron Rodgers Viking, and this is Aaron Rodgers at his best, man. This is probably his best game of the season. Like throwing multiple, like I think four passing touchdowns. Like this guy, he even ran the ball for a couple of yards, man. Even on a like turf toe or something, man, running yards like 20+ yards of rushing. So like this is Aaron Rodgers at his peak performance, and the Vikings were able to get it done at the last second, man, to get a field goal for the win. So shout out to the Vikings, man, because that's a big time win over probably a top 2 NFC team in the Green Bay Packers.
Absolutely. And I think that, the difference maker kind of towards the end was that, Vikings had home field advantage, and that'll always give you, just a slight advantage that can, change the game. Rodgers played to near perfection. I mean, it was the first time, I think, Zoo, at least in a long time, that he'd broken 300. I think he threw he threw for about 385, something around there, 4 touchdowns. You can't really ask for a better game. Maybe he scored a little too quick with that first play, 70 yards
I did think of that, man. I'm like 2 minutes to get a field goal. That's too much time.
Yeah, and I hate to say this, man, but I had a parlay. I had Packers money line. That was the last one I needed to hit. And if he would have scored a little slower, forced overtime, or they would have picked off that ball that Zoo mentioned earlier, I would have been in the green right there. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But dude, look, if you allow Thielen and Jefferson to get 16 catches for nearly over 250 yards and 3 touchdowns, you're going to lose every game. I don't care if Dalvin Cook is rushing for less than 4 yards a carry. Kirk Cousins can carry that team. Zoo, you said, sometimes in big games, I know, he didn't win on Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football or prime time in general for years. And then I think we saw him break that. Maybe it was last year. But maybe this is the step that he needed to take. I think that the Vikings somehow bought into this guy, and he pays dividends when it comes to stats. This is clearly his best year that he's had in Minnesota so far. So once again, I think this team is also trending up there in Minnesota. So that was a huge divisional win, but then they got to go into Lambeau. I think it's week 17. So we'll see how that one goes.
Yeah.
You know what that week is? Fantasy football playoff championship week, baby. And you know who I got? 3 of my Packers, baby. I'm riding with the Packers. I'm riding or dying with them, man. My Packers are going to get it.
When's Jones coming back?
They said 1 to 2 weeks, so earliest this week. But I doubt it. I highly doubt it. Probably they might wait till next week, or maybe even wait till the bye. Like they might give him an extra. They might give him an extra weekend. AJ Dillon, he's a solid running back. Like between the tackles, like he's a good rusher. Not as good as a pass catcher as Aaron Jones, but
he's not a home run guy. But he can rack up yards.
He just gets a little 4 yards of carry running between the tackles, man, and he'll get a goal line back. AJ Dillon's a goal line back.
Yeah, definitely. He's a pretty decent handcuff. I feel like almost if he lost maybe 20 pounds, he'd probably be even more explosive. But I guess that's just kind of what he the body he reminds me of. Remember the guy, and I don't know if he was maybe as big. Remember Mike Allstott?
Yeah.
Mike Allstott kind of had I know he had the neck pad that was kind of made him look maybe bigger than what he was. Yeah, but he kind of reminds me of him a little bit.
He's a big dude.
Yeah, Dylan. Huge. Yeah, he's a big dude. I remember him at Boston College. He was I think a 3-year starter for them. But I think I'm gonna go 2 ways. I think I'm gonna start with the Chiefs. They kind of, on one hand, I think they are a team that say they do sneak into the playoffs. You don't want to see them in the playoffs because of just their experience in the playoffs, going to the Super Bowl and things of that nature. I'm not buying that defense doing that. I want to say that was just because how they have the Americans game of the week, and it's just a big platform. I feel like the defense played up to that, and part of it was Dak was missing a couple of throws. So I'm not buying that the defense is that good. Now I do think they have some pieces. I think the one cornerback Ward, he's pretty good. Matthews a pretty decent player, and that Jones guy, the D tackle, he's a monster. Now he's a monster. I will say that. But I'm not buying the defense being anywhere to the point where I could trust them in the playoffs. So I'm going to pump the brakes on that. I do like, that Mahomes got to spread the ball around with Tyreek and all those other guys. But I think it has to say more about Dallas and how they just didn't show up. And now I know Dak lost CD, and he did have
CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper, man.
Yeah, that's a lot to overcome.
And the biggest thing to me actually was Tyron Smith was out of that game. So, I mean, you want to talk about Chris Jones having a huge game. He was missing his all-pro left tackle. And everybody knows, and I've heard this echoed pretty much all day today and yesterday, was that the Cowboys are extremely, left tackle dependent. right? They love to run Zeke inside the tackles. You don't really see Zeke get like an outside handoff that much. Tony Pollard, same thing. So if they're without that, and Dak's still not the most mobile quarterback in the world, I mean.
And Zeke's not trending in the right direction.
Right, yeah.
Stop the disrespect, Sean.
He's not
Stop
trending.
the disrespect, Sean.
You
know what they do? You know what they do? They gave him single-digit carries, man. There's not much you can do if you don't get double-digit carries, man. And he tweaked his knee for a second, so he sat out a couple games, lost some momentum, man. Tony Pollard came in, did a little donut, nothing, man. Yeah, he ain't no 3-down back. So Zeke tweaked something, came back in, was a little rusty, and they didn't feed him the ball, man. They got to give him
that a lot, though.
They got to feed him the ball 20 to 25 carries, man.
Yeah, he's a workhorse back.
He's a workhorse running back, gets the momentum, man. And, he can always get one of those big runs in, man. It only takes one, man. Only takes one of those great runs just to set up yourself for an easy tutty. So, feed Zeke the ball, man.
They are definitely the team that when they're running the ball efficient or like you say, giving more volume, that's the formula they I think they're trying to justify Dak.
Play action. Boom.
That's why they
establish the run game, play action, man. And you're without your best weapons. Like you're without CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper. Like your number one's on Dalton Schultz and Cedric Wilson. Like, come on.
Hey, don't forget Michael Gallup came back, man.
Oh yeah,
I forgot about that dude coming back from injury.
But he's actually not bad.
But those are his weapons. But you're talking about Amari Cooper, who was making $20 million. CeeDee Lamb, who's one of the best young receivers in the game. That's a major drop-off in talent. Major drop-off. And he relies on them, especially yards after catch. I mean, you grab the ball, throw it to them, and they gave you like 10 extra yards after the catch. So without those superstar wide receivers, man, feed the ball to Zeke. Cost me a fantasy game, man. Cost me a fantasy game with Zeke give me 6 fantasy points. That is pathetic. He's my ride or die. He's getting me 6 points, and my opponent has Austin Eckler with a 4-tutty game, and Zeke got me a good old 6 puntos. And I took the fat out after I was off 40. And then he had Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen, and I lost.
Yeah. Because the Chargers are great, man. Like I said, that was a big
man.
Win
they got nukes, man. They have those games where they just go off, man. It's actually incredible. They have these ridiculous games. They drop
against a good defense too. But Zoo, to your point, they're on a short. Speaking of the Cowboys, they're on a short turnaround to play the Raiders on Thanksgiving. And Amari's guaranteed out. He's not
out
playing.
2 games. He's out 2 games.
And CeeDee's in concussion protocol, so who knows?
Ooh, it's gonna be a rough Thanksgiving, man. Not a lot to be thankful for, man. This is bad, man. This is really, really bad. You got guys with COVID, guys with concussions, guys out. And you gotta play early on Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man, Cowboys are downtrending right now. Like these injuries and this shortened schedule, this would be 3 straight losses after that terrible Denver Broncos loss, which that should never happen. It's an awful football team, terrible offense, and now losing this game against the Chiefs and early Thursday night, not looking so good. At least in the worst division in football, man.
That's the only saving grace. But then when you say that, it's like you look at Washington and you look at Philadelphia. These past 2, like they're kind of like. I wouldn't say they're steeply trending up, but they're kind of like
crawling.
Just a little bit.
All right, no. They're like the baby, like 3 months into already knowing how to crawl, man. That's how quickly they're moving. They're kind of scurrying along, just attempting. And I think we talked about this last week, but watching the Panthers, win last week with Cam in the first game, and then you see Heineke, who is coming off beating Brady. Right, goes in and gets another big win against kind of a trending upwards Panthers team that was moving the ball. They were, and they actually exposed a good defense in Carolina. So I don't know, man. Heineke keeps proving that I think he could end up being maybe another 2-year guy for them. Give him another shot, maybe give him 1 more year. But that was another big win. And like you said, at the Cowboys, they're 8-3 right now. I think. I mean, they got to buy, and. I don't know. I don't see any team maybe surpassing them, but I think somebody could end up challenging them, especially when the divisional games come in later this season.
Yeah. The Eagles, man, very surprising me. They dropped 40 points, man.
They score, man.
Yeah,
Jalen didn't even throw a touchdown. He was all rushing.
Yeah, all rushing. Shout out to QB1 Jalen Hurts, man. This dude's an absolute animal in fantasy football. 69 rushing yards. He's a running back, man. He's like Lamar Jackson light, man. 69 yards, 18 carries. The dude had 18 carries as a quarterback.
On a good Saints defense.
on a good defense. This dude had 18 carries, 3 tutties. Come on now. And they're actually feeding the ball to Miles Sanders. Like, what's going on, man?
Took him to get hurt, and then that's weird.
He's gonna go back on IR.
It's crazy because like the minute they start giving the ball, he gets hurt, and then like Jordan Howard becomes like a workhorse running back out of nowhere, and then he becomes hurt, and then Miles Sanders comes in. I'm just like, man, I don't know what they're doing, but feeding the ball to Miles Sanders, that's the way to get it done. Especially Jalen Hurts can't throw the football. Dude's a running quarterback, man, and right now they're dominating with the run. And against the Saints team, that's a pretty mediocre team, 5-5 team, pretty average. Like this is a big time. This is a big time win for the Eagles, man. Like Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, you got to run the football. Got to run the football.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of get into the next topic that we kind of wanted to talk about. I kind of said the guys a list earlier today, and I wanted to get their thoughts on some of the teams that are on that, I guess, cusp of the playoffs or on that last line of the playoffs that are already in. I want to get their thoughts on who they think can maybe trend up or who's trending down. There's a few teams that kind of showed, I wouldn't say their true colors, but showed some signs that it's like you kind of thinking to yourself, like maybe this is not the team we thought they were 3 weeks ago. So I want to get the guys' thoughts on who they think, like I said, is trending up or trending down. And Zoo, I'm going to start with you, man.
Man, I'm looking at the Browns right now, man. This is a big time with Kareem Hunt might come back this week, man. And you know my thoughts about Baker Mayfield. He's pretty mediocre, man. He's only famous because he's in more commercials, man. He's in more commercials than another quarterback in the NFL, man. So he's pretty mediocre quarterback. But with Kareem Hunt, who is an elite running back talent, Nick Chubb after one injury out, man, they could dominate the run and make a comeback right now, man. Dude, they gotta run the football, man. This is another team. I want this team to run 30 times a game, man. 30 times a game, because these guys are way too good, and this O-line is way too good. You saw a guy coming out of nowhere in Dearness Johnson, who I think he's actually a pretty nice talent. But against that O-line, man, he was a straight beast, man. Kareem Hunt out. Nick Chubb out. This guy's getting 90 yards against the Patriots. Like, that's an elite defense. So they got to be able to run the football. Let Baker Mayfield. He barely beat the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions. And that team just is begging to get losses, man. They just find ways to lose games, man. They could be up multiple tutties and blow the game. They could have an onside kick. They recover an onside kick off to a terrific 14-0 start. Still blow the game, man. They got nothing to lose. They going for Hail Mary plays. They could probably get a Hail Mary and still lose the game, man, because that team is just an embarrassment of football right now. And that coach is probably still crying because, man, he might lose his job after this year if he goes 0 and everything, man. So the Detroit Lions barely beat them. Baker Mayfield throwing picks, man, making bad decisions. He's without Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's probably his favorite receiver now because, like Jarvis Landry, he having an off year, man. Coming back from injury, he's not having his usual 1,000-yard season. Like Peoples-Jones, his favorite guy, he's also injured. So they got to run the football, man. But Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, 30 carries a game, dominant time of possession, man. You win by running the football. So if they do that, I feel like they could make a comeback because I love the offensive line. I like the defense, man. I love the running backs. Only big question mark is that good old quarterback, and he mediocre, man. He mediocre.
The only thing I would say about that is they have a tough schedule in front of them. They play the Ravens back to back.
Yeah.
Right, and then I think they got to. I don't know if they go to Lambeau, but I think they do have to play the Packers. Yeah, they're in Lambeau on Christmas Day.
Yeah, good luck with that game, man.
And then they got to go to Pittsburgh, and then they end the year with a decent, I would say, above average Bengals team, man. Bengals, coming off a nice win against
Bengals are a weird team, man. Lose to the Jets, man. They're dominate the Raiders, man. Such a weird team.
Very tough to I don't know. It's really tough to look at that team and say, yeah, they're going to make a wild card spot, or they're going to win the division, take over Baltimore, or whatever. Because they're kind of inching right in with them. They're in second place right now. That Steelers tie might end up either helping them a lot or hurt them. It's probably going to hurt them. They also have a tough schedule. I think they actually have the hardest schedule in the league this year because of, we all know what happened last year when they started 11-0, and then they actually had to play some competition and fell off real quick. So, look, man, I mean, there's a couple teams on my end. I know Sean threw out a bunch. The Bengals is one of them. I think that they'll probably end up hovering around, the 9-8, because they do have some tough games coming up for them. I'm just looking at the Bills, man. I can't. Looking at this Bills team, man, I mean, they didn't really beat anybody notable besides Kansas City early on. They whooped them, and I think everybody thought, Bills are back. You know, it was AFC Championship rematch, right? You know, Josh Allen's getting interviewed after the game. They're crowning him on ESPN. And then we see him kind of just roll through the Jets, you know, 9-6 against the Jags. We've talked about that way more weeks than probably was necessary, but it's still funny. And I just don't see them, especially getting into the later half of the year where they have to play the Patriots. And I think that this Patriots team, I think we can all agree, is probably one of the most upward trending teams this entire year. I think maybe besides if the Cowboys can get people back healthy, they're probably the two biggest surprising teams of this year. I think people thought the Cowboys would win the division, but maybe not be at this point quite yet. So I'm just watching where the Bills are going, man. I don't think they're going to end up. They're going to be fighting for a wild card spot. I don't think that you can keep them as a lock to win that division anymore. They're going to be fighting with the likes of the Colts, the Browns, the Bengals, Chargers, Chiefs, whichever one kind of pulls out that division. And I just don't see putting any money, if you're a betting man, on the Bills to even make the AFC Championship game this year. I don't think that's too bold to say, but it's definitely one of the sadder fall-offs, especially with how good that team was the past couple of years. So,
yeah, Josh Allen, I feel like is kind of regressed because he does have his. I mean, Stephon hasn't been hurt, so I'm not sure what's going on with him and just with their offense. I maybe you could point to their running backs because they don't have a special running back. Maybe that's the reason why their offense has been kind of.
No, they used Matt Breida, man. I didn't even know he was on the roster.
And he had and Zoo. The funny thing is, he had 5 carries for 50 yards. That's 10 yards a carry. How are you not feeding him a little bit more?
Who was it? Like, Singletary and I don't know the other guy.
Zach Moss is the third.
They're a straight committee. Like I have legitimately no idea what they're doing with the running backs, man. I feel like Josh Allen's probably their best runner. So it's a weird running back tandem they got.
Yeah, I think I got 2 teams that I would say I would look at like it's trending up. First, I want to start with the Colts. Jonathan Taylor is looking like a back that could be a bell cow type of guy when the playoffs come if they do get in there. I just think he's just the perfect complement of power and speed. So with his type of both type of shiftiness and getting upfield and doing all that type of stuff, I think that could pay dividends if they were to get into like a tough playoff game. And quiet has kept Carson Wentz has played pretty decent this year. Now, his issue has always been injury, so he could be injured next week and this would be a moot point. But, like, he's played – I think his stats, like, I want to say it's like 17 or 18 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. And that is around the same numbers he had, I think, the year that it was like they were talking about him being in the MVP hunt and all that type of stuff.
And then he got hurt.
Yeah, and then he got hurt. So it kind of derailed all that. But he's had a really good year. And, you know, if he can stay healthy, I think they could be a really good team in the playoffs that could make some noise because – you know, their defense is usually pretty solid. I really like Darius Leonard. I don't know really any other guys on the other side, but they're pretty solid as a unit. They kind of got a committee approach at receiver with the guys that they got. So I think that could be
Michael Pittman, man.
Yeah,
Shout out to Michael Pittman. He's having a breakout season.
Yeah, big year.
Definitely a number one guy. So that's a team that I'm looking at. And I'm going to say the second team, the Eagles, just because of their schedule. In the next, I think 4 games, they got the Giants twice and the Jets. So
not much traveling.
Yeah, you would think they could maybe get those 3 wins, and then if you look at Dallas's projection to go down, it can maybe get them to where I'm not sure. I think they play Dallas maybe in that last week or somewhere in between.
Last game of the season.
Yeah. That could be a de facto. Whoever wins that game could maybe win the division because, you know, I know Dallas beat them pretty handily early in the year, but like I said, it was pretty early in the year. And Jalen Hurts is a guy where I saw a stat today, and I put it on the Bullheaded podcast page, Bullheaded_pod, if you guys are watching and want to follow that podcast page. He has the numbers, I think, through the first 15 starts, similar to Lamar. I think Lamar maybe had 2 more touchdowns and maybe a few less yards. But it's pretty eerily similar. Now, you would say Lamar, his first year, when he was like kind of like, you know, going through the motions being a starter, he was, I wouldn't say a horrific passer, but he was just like a, you know, could dart. He was throwing to the tight end a lot. And he still kind of does that, but he's now evolving more into throwing to, because I still think it's impressive with Marquise being their number one guy. And he's like 5'10", and he's able to put it on him. So that kind of shows he's improved a little bit as a passer, because it's not like his number one guy is a huge 6'3" guy, you know, that he can just throw it out in the area and he can go get it. So I do think he's improving as a passer, but Jalen Hurts, we both know he's not as athletic as Lamar, but he is a bigger type quarterback. He is more physical. He can do a little bit more read option, things of that nature. So I'm interested to see how he keeps progressing because it's not like he doesn't have talent. He's got Goddard, a solid number one guy, Devontae Smith. I'm kind of out on Rieger, but he's got, to me, I think they should get the ball to Quez Watkins more because I feel like he needs to score more because it's like he has a lot of big play potential. And I think Zoo, you had said he trained with Ridley in the offseason. So maybe that was part of his maturation of why he's like a better receiver. But I'm going to be interested to see how the Eagles finish down the stretch because another reason is I know everybody talks about Trevon Diggs, but Darius Slay is another big play corner that he could shift the game at the drop of a hat. So, I think he actually scored this past week.
Yeah, pick six, right?
Yeah.
I
think he had a pick six.
Score of the year.
Yeah. So I think, with him and the couple pieces they got on defense, the Eagles could be a team that in the second half could maybe make some noise. So those are two teams that I'm looking at in the AFC and NFC. If I had to pick one, I probably would just pick the Colts just because I trust Carson, but then it's like he can get hurt. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think the only thing about Jalen is their reliance on him, right? To literally do everything.
Yeah.
And I think that, obviously every game matters in the NFL. And you could say, it's a little bit less now that they added an extra game, whatever. But once you get to the playoffs, man, like they're going to start spying Hurts. And I'm not saying that he can't get around that. He's extremely talented. We saw him absolutely juke the hell out of that Saints defense, looking like he made a damn back cut in basketball, planting that left foot and cutting back inside. But I think that some teams, I'm not saying I always joke that they're not going to figure him out, but I think that you can attempt to contain him so that they force him to throw the ball down the field and try and hit that deep shot to Quez Watkins instead of just getting an easy 15-yard run for a first down and keep moving the ball. If you can force him to sit in the pocket, which I mean is kind of what everybody attempts to do with Lamar Jackson, we all know that's not possible. But Jalen is a little bit less quick of a step, right? So I think that you do have a better chance. Especially if they do make a push and get into the wild card and have to play, for example, they could face off with the Cowboys in like the first round, right? If the Cowboys win the division, right, Eagles get the 6 or 7 seed, whatever it is, they might have to face off against their division opponent, who at that point will have already played them a couple times. So I do think that their schedule easily.
That's the only reason why
they're automatically automatically puts them
the Giants toys. And the Washington football team.
Yeah.
Along with the Jets.
I don't think that's the thing is I don't think you can just say, the Washington football team.
That's
the only hesitation.
Man, stop it. Man, they're at below average football team, man.
I mean, they're getting big wins and they're also on a that's a way more impressive back-to-back win than, for example, the Niners who have beaten, the Jaguars and then the Rams. I don't know. It's tough. But
Chase Young got hurt. That kind of I don't like that he got hurt.
Their defense sucks, man.
Yeah, and it was with Chase Young, they wasn't great defensively, so it's like your best defensive player.
But they could I would see them splitting that personally.
Yeah, they could probably split.
They'll probably split that, which I think that puts the Eagles at once again kind of around the Bengals. I think those are the two teams that are growing the most right now, and they'll probably hover around that 9-8, maybe 10-7 if you give them a little upswing on that. So. It just depends how they finish out the year.
Man. Yeah. Shouts to Jalen Hurts, man. QB1, man.
Beast.
QB1.
He got me like 28 points.
RB1.
So.
30 points, man. 30 points. It was 30 points, Sean.
Oh, yeah. Well, it didn't matter because I still lost. Jalen is proven to be a super dual threat guy.
He's on pace for 1,000 yards, man. 1,000 rushing yards.
He's gonna grow. He's gonna grow as a passer because this is his first full year. Like I say, when they put up that stat, I think it was on the Undefeated. Shout out to them. They have a lot of good tidbits on their page. When I saw that, it's really similar to how Lamar was his first season. And I also think that with Lamar, his offensive coordinator has not saying they don't do it for Jalen, but his offensive coordinator has really transformed his whole entire offense to fit around Lamar. So maybe in the offseason if Jalen is considered, because to me, I feel like Jalen has proven enough this year to be okay, especially with the quarterback classes out there. And I don't know who's even going to be on the market unless Aaron Rodgers comes knocking on your door. Like, who's going to be on the market to be like, yeah, we should trade him or go get him or whatever. And like I said, Deshaun's not going to want to go there. So who's on the market
Nick Foles.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know about Nick Foles now. Nah, definitely not Nick Foles. Like you say, I still think that was one of the craziest Super Bowl runs with him. Like, It just
Yeah,
doesn't even make any type of sense.
They would give him that backup position though, just because
the
he
backup
did that
position.
for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
He
no.
would-
Just to be there behind Hurts, I think it honestly wouldn't be a bad option. You need a true passer as your backup behind a guy.
Who is
like
their
Hurts.
backup? I don't know.
At
Minshew.
this-
Minshew. Forgot about
Is
that.
oh it is
Gardner Minshew.
Now that
Yeah.
man, oh,
He might be a guy that could be. I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on him. He
I'd let
wasn't-
him
like, he played
let him
Jacksonville,
soak in that
but-
backup role, learn a little bit for a couple of years. I feel like he could come out the other end.
Because I mean, Jacksonville, as you see with Trevor Lawrence, like they have no talent out wide. So and Minshew, I think, was playing. You could say maybe to this point, and I know Trevor's a rookie. Gardner wasn't, I don't think, a rookie when he was doing all that, but Gardner's looked a whole lot better than Trevor has so far in Jacksonville. So now Trevor doesn't have ETN, so I think ETN would have been a really big piece for them. That's a guy that, man, if he didn't get hurt, he probably would have been going off because he's such a receiver. Like he's a perfect back for this type of system. Like he's a 5'11", 6 foot, 215, 220. Like can catch you up. Like he would have been. He probably would have been doing maybe slightly below Najee Harris. He would have been doing really well.
Wow.
I think that would have helped Trevor a lot. He was explosive as hell in college.
Yeah.
Now I think Najee's a better back, but he would have been right there below him. Because Najee has, I would say, more like Zeke, how Zeke came out, like straight line bull, but ETN's got that side to side stuff is crazy. Like, you know, it's
I
just
don't know.
sucks that he
James
got hurt.
Robinson, he looks pretty good, man. He's
Yeah.
a very projected running back, man.
Yeah.
He'll get a contract elsewhere if they end up deciding
Definitely
to
get
move
somewhere.
on and go to ATN.
Yeah. Robinson's definitely a good 2-3 down back. So, and things like that. So, those are a few teams I'm kind of looking at. I wouldn't put any significant money on them making a, bolt towards the playoffs, but I'm not high on the Bills. I just think, like you say, their committee by running back committee, defense is kind of okay. Josh Allen, like you said, I don't know why he's not playing as well. He's got Diggs. He's got some decent receivers he can throw to. So I don't know if it's just more so of, like you said, they bought into the hype when they beat Kansas City early in the season. But they're going to have to get it in gear because they got the Patriots coming up. And the Patriots, like you say, Mac Jones, he's solid. He to me, he dinks and ducks a lot, but that's what they ask him to do, and he's not, turning the ball over as much. So with that defense, because Belichick's going to have that, and Mac's not turning the ball over. And like you said, they do. See, the Patriots do running back by committee, but it's a better version, I feel like. They're the best in the league of doing the committees. Yeah.
They're all dual threat.
Yeah, they're the best in that. Like, if I had to trust one team to have the committee running backs, I trust the Patriots because that's just what they do. They've been doing that forever. They did it with Brady. Yeah. So it's kind of like they're a team that's, definitely trending in the right direction. So I know I said Josh Allen. I just feel like I'm going with a better quarterback. But if he keeps playing like this, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a situation where they can win that division. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do because,
real quick, I think the Vikings too, man. I think they'll end up making a push. They get to play the Lions and my Bears twice, so that's probably good season right there.
Good season.
Unless the Bears have played spoils against the Vikings a couple times, but they're hovering around 500. The Packers, have to sit Jones out for a little bit longer. I know they have the bye week coming up. I don't think they'll win the division, but with an open NFC, especially with the Cowboys trending downwards a little bit, with the Saints as well, Panthers, who knows? They'll probably end up getting one of the wild card spots in the NFC. And they're just so explosive, man. They're just going to have to outshoot everybody, and I don't think it's going to win in the playoffs, but they'll be there.
The Vikings have like one of the best rosters in the NFL. They have a lot of good players on their team. Like, not like I would say, they have their superstar players, but their wideouts are solid. Their defensive line is really good. Linebackers are pretty decent. They have like one corner. I can't remember his name, but they got one corner. Like, they've always had for the last couple of years a really good roster. I think everybody just kind of was down on them because they're not big on Kirk Cousins. But Kirk Cousins he's a average to good quarterback. Like, I'm not saying you want him to take you to the Super Bowl, but if it's a playoff game and then Dalvin's moving and running and doing what he needs to do, like, he could be a quarterback that could, if he, he reminds me, like, I think he's slightly better than Ryan Tannehill. You see how he's doing now that he doesn't have Derrick Henry. He's not as good.
He's having an awful year, man.
Yeah.
He's been throwing so many picks.
Granted, the weather was atrocious. Nobody could throw the ball. Why do you think Tyrod Taylor wasn't even attempting anything? I mean,
it doesn't matter, man. He was looking like Michael Vick out there running.
He was looking like Michael Vick out there. That was I just think it was a bad game for everybody. That was just a horrible game to watch. But no, Sean, I agree with you. I mean, I think Kirk Cousins is really good. I think you could actually put him in an elite category for this year only. His ratio is 21-2 right now.
21 tutties to 2 picks. That's
That's
impressive.
like Aaron Rodgers type numbers.
Yeah,
that is
it
Aaron
is Aaron
Rodgers type
Rodgers.
numbers. So if he keeps that, he's easily, I know it doesn't mean much in the NFL, but he'll easily be a Pro Bowler this year. He'll probably end up being on one of the All-Pro teams this year if he keeps up with this consistency. He's just not making mistakes that he used to. I don't know if it was just a mentality thing or they have a better offensive scheme that Jefferson seems to have 15 yards of separation every time the ball is thrown his way. So they're definitely my NFC upward trending team, I guess, more so than anybody. Maybe the Niners as well.
Yeah,
man, so sad, man. The Vikings. I thought the Bears this year were going to be relevant, man.
I thought so too, man.
Shame on me for picking the Bears, man. Shame on me for picking the Bears. The Bears are so depressing, man. God, that game, that ending.
You want to talk about scoring too quickly, man?
Justin got hurt too, didn't he?
Yeah,
he bruised his ribs.
Feels,
I mean, he'll be fine.
Yeah,
but Darnell Mooney, man, only bright spot.
No, Andy Dalton threw a nice bomb, man. To Darnell Mooney
too. Yeah,
he looked pretty good.
He's a I guess you could say out of all the best,
he'll take over number one.
He's a bright spot. Yeah, he's a good receiver, and like you say, he's already got.
Allen Robinson's out after this year, right? He's definitely out.
Yeah, or they'll tag him again. Probably one or the other.
What a waste, man! What a waste. No use to use a tag on him, man. But
you want to talk about downward trending teams? Bears, please do it because I'll take any good draft picks, even though we don't even really have a first rounder. I don't think. Even
hey,
second
might be able to
rounders,
do
man.
something with. I mean, what is it?
Khalil.
Khalil got hurt, but maybe I don't know what his contract
Khalil
is.
Mack
maybe
is out.
Khalil Mack for Devontae Adams, straight up. That's my proposal.
Man, stop it! You think Devontae
If
Adams goes
Rodgers
from
leaves?
Aaron Rodgers to
If
Justin
Rodgers leaves?
Fields?
If Rodgers leaves, though,
he's gonna follow him, man. He's gonna follow him.
To the Bears.
He might do that. Yeah, that would be. That would be. You want to talk about betrayal? Oh,
and you know what? God. You know who would be that petty? Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers.
He would go to
Arnold, man.
Could
you imagine the Packers like whenever the Bears go to the Packers?
I
don't even think Aaron Rodgers could play, bro.
Twice a year.
Ugh, that would be so nasty. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers would be the one quarterback to do that because he don't care. He doesn't.
Brett Favre did it. He went to the Vikings, man.
He was pretty damn good on the Vikings
and
too.
He took him to the NFC Championship.
That
wasn't that the game when they were playing the Saints? They were like bounty hunters in that game or something like that.
Oh, I think the whole Sean Payton scandal.
Yeah. I think that was something where it's like the defensive coordinator
about
was
that
like,
real quick.
Yeah. They were like headhunting Brett Favre, I think, or something like that. It was crazy.
Yep.
Brett Favre played forever and didn't miss any starts, which was insane. Talk about an Iron Man.
Yep,
it's crazy.
Beast.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for today's podcast. You know, we wanted to get some more NFL talk. You know, some teams that were maybe trending up and trending down. I want to make sure wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. You know, we're still going to be getting the podcast out the same day. So if you guys got anything you want to listen to on Thanksgiving Day, you can do that. Make sure you guys follow bullheaded_pod. A lot of great content I'll be producing throughout the week. You know, basketball season starting to ratchet up. Football season starting to get into full swing with the playoff hunt and things like that. So I'll be putting up daily content, things of that nature. Make sure you guys follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Anchor, the actual page that we get the podcast off of, things like that. And for me, Zoo, and P. Bush, we're out.